Welcome to Write with Love. I'm Sarah Williams, best-selling author, speaker, and creative entrepreneur. Each week, I chat to passionate and inspiring authors about their journey in creative writing. Some are traditionally published, some do it themselves. Everyone's journey is different, and everyone has something interesting to say. We all love love and love what we do. Today's show is brought to you by our amazing fans and supporters on Patreon. If you'd like to help support the show and get some awesome bonus episodes, go to patreon.com/SarahWilliamsAuthor to learn more. Now here's today's show. G'day, I'm Sarah Williams, romance author and independent publisher at Serenade Publishing. Today I'm chatting to vampire-obsessed author Daniel de Lorne. Thanks for joining me, Daniel.
Thanks very much, Sarah.
So your tagline is Ruin, Romance and Redemption. Can you tell us more about yourself and your author journey?
Sure. So I'm 35. I live in Perth, Western Australia. I don't know whether I always wanted to be a writer. I was always very interested in writing stories, and I had a good imagination for that sort of thing. And I did sit in biology class instead of learning biology, which would have been useful for my high school exams. I ended up writing stories with a friend of mine. So that's sort of where I spent Year 12 biology, which was very, very not useful. And then I went to university. I did a creative writing degree and honours in vampire fiction as well. But then I had a bit of a break for a few years. I went and joined the workforce because you kind of think, I'll never make a living as a writer. Like I did a journalism major as well. So I thought, I'll make a living as a journalist. Hated the idea of actually being a journalist. So university helped me on that score. But I then went and worked. I worked at Perth Zoo for a while. So I worked there for 11 years. But doing that, I used my writing skills for a bit more of a different audience. And then in about 2009, I kind of went, I used this degree. I have this degree. I haven't done anything with it. So that's feeling a bit of a letdown on the fiction writing side. So I started writing. And I was lucky. I was friends with another romance writer, Nikki Logan. And so we kind of worked together to sort of keep each other going. And she offered a lot of great advice. And I came up with an idea for a story about twin vampire brothers. And from there, I wrote that. And I hadn't actually considered it romance at the time. It was a bit more sort of in the style of Anne Rice and just sort of horror kind of stories. But talking to Nikki, we kind of went, there is actually a love story in here, and perhaps it would be worthwhile coming along to Romance Writers of Australia's annual conference, which I did, and I got a bit of interest, and that was great. But it took a few years from there for me to polish that up, get it where I really wanted, and start submitting. And then in about 2013, I'd submitted the book again to a couple of publishers, and one of them, Escape, came back and said, "Hey, we'd like to publish this. Would you be interested?" And I was like, "Yes, send me the contract." And that was, and then that came out in 2014. So since then, I've been trying to increase the output and go from there. Help build a bit more of a writer career.
Yeah. Absolutely. No, that's brilliant. And I know a lot of people do start off with Escape, and especially with the digital first avenue. So that's been great for you. Obviously getting that one out and having the second book as well.
Yeah, so Escape was really supportive. They were doing a lot of different things. It wasn't just pure romance. It was, trying to put in not only paranormal stories, but also most mine's gay fiction as well, or gay romance. So they were really supportive of that. And then supportive enough to have the second book in the series. and finally, I've finished the third book in the series and sent that to them as a submission. So waiting to hear back on whether that goes ahead. But I've been getting a lot of support from Escape, and then also Harlequin as part of that. So really pleased with them.
Absolutely. And a lot of the viewers and readers may not have read gay romance at this point. So hopefully we'll be, hoping that a few more people will start reading your books now. So can you tell us a little bit?
That's always...
Yeah. I mean, love is love. And, I totally agree with that. So tell us, have you had any challenges with writing that, or, any issues along the way?
No, I haven't really. I mean, part of the difficulty is that it's quite a niche market. So to get massive sales in gay romance is sort of hard to do. There haven't been really. So it's, trying to get a groundswell of support for that. Being I don't know whether being in Australia makes it a bit sort of out of a bit sort of on the outskirts of it all as well, or also that the books that I've had have been quite gritty and dark and bloody. So I've had friends go, I can't read your book because there's blood in it. So so they get a bit queasy, and I have to say, okay, we'll just skip these chapters and then you'll be fine. So it's whether or not people, the vast majority of readers in that subgenre want that sort of thing as well. So that's why I've kind of been I'm not as much as I love paranormal stories, it's not the only thing I've been working on, and I'm trying to broaden it, so it's not so much always romantic horror. It's also things like maybe romantic suspense, or some contemporary, maybe a bit of historical, but trying to just like where I come from is I want to tell a particular story about two men who fall in love, and that's the setting that goes around that is quite fluid, and to be whatever kind of takes my fancy. Whether I can actually build a strong enough brand around that to sort of say to have all readers who like what I do follow along the whole way will remain to be seen. But I'm happy to give it a shot. It keeps me interested.
Yeah, that's it. And of course, you've got your own partner in crime, your husband. You are married, so congratulations, and legally now. So is it? It's kind of great to see that Australia is finally catching up with the rest of the world.
Yeah, I've got very strong views about all that. As a lot of people do. So but we got married in Canada in about 3 years ago. So it's it's a little subtle shift, but it means a lot in that our marriage of 3 years is now recognised in our home country. So
that is brilliant. Fantastic. So we talked a bit before about the Romance Writers of Australia. So how long have you been a member of that?
I think I joined in 2009, 2010. And I sort of, for a few years, I was just a member. But as I mentioned, I was close friends with Nikki Logan, and she became president one year and was looking for some committee members. So I went on board with that. So I was working on their member services program, their offerings, and then in I think it was 2014, I became vice president and also editor of Hearts Talk. So that's their monthly magazine. So it's full of writing tips and interviews and industry news. So I do the layout and the design side. And then I also work with and Carla Caruso. She's the other editor, and she works on the content side. So it's a nice little partnership. It's great to be able to see what's happening in there. You know, make sure I read Heartstock every month, and it's another way to sort of work with the organisation. So that's I stopped being on committee in about 2016, I think it was, and so now I'm just doing the Heartstock editing.
Absolutely, and that's a great way of giving back, is helping wherever you can. Volunteers are always needed at RWA.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, the place just wouldn't run without it, and you know, and I owe a lot to the organisation, and it's been really helpful in not only the craft side of things and the industry side of things, but also feeling quite supportive. Like, I find RWA's sense of community is quite strong, and you know, writing is can often be a very isolating experience. So it's nice to be able to go to have a whole community that you can just call on and go, hey guys, I've been having a terrible time with my writing, or hey, this has happened. I've got this 3-book deal. Isn't that wonderful? And everyone's very happy for it. So it's really nice to be able to be part of that community.
Yeah, absolutely. And have you found anyone who writes similar to you in terms of being paranormal? If they like someone else, they might like you, sort of thing. Who can you kind of draw on? Apart from maybe Anne Rice.
Yeah, yeah. You know, for at the start, it was a bit like you know, a cross between Anne Rice and J.R. Ward's Black Dagger Brotherhood, but I don't have anywhere near those numbers, which is a pity. Yeah, I'm not sure. Like, I really like. She's an English author, and she does a lot of historical paranormal as well. So her name's KJ Charles, and she writes, as far as I'm concerned, excellent male romance with paranormal bent. Like, yeah, she just blows my mind what she can do at times. So, yeah.
Fantastic. Well, we'll have to try a new genre now. So paranormal gay romance. It sounds brilliant.
Yeah. I mean, like, you know, people sort of say, you know, the usual term is male romance, but I always think it's such a mouthful.
Yeah.
And I don't know, sometimes I don't feel I actually sit quite strongly in it, mostly because male is very much it's mostly written by straight women and read by straight women.
Yeah.
And then gay fiction is something a bit separate. So gay fiction is usually written by gay men, and it's a bit more sort of cultural. Like, the love story isn't the point of a lot of those stories, or if it is, it's not exactly a romance, so it might not have the happy ever after and that sort of structure. So there's a bit of a gap between them. So I kind of say, well, I write gay romance because I kind of write it more for. I think of, you know, would I want to read this? And I go, yes. So you know, I definitely want people to read the books, but in terms of putting a tagline to it, I prefer gay romance because that's where I like to sit.
That's it. And your books, so they've been vampires.
And also, I think male is a bit of a mouthful. Yeah.
So have they tell us about the storyline of your first 2 books? So they're twin brothers and they're also vampires?
Yeah, so the first 2 books, the series is called Bonds of Blood series, and starts off with Thierry and Olivier. They're twin brothers, and they were made into vampires in the late 1300s in Carcassonne, France. And Olivier is obsessed with his brother Thierry, so he's got this very obsessive love for him, whereas Thierry is pining over a lost love of his, Etienne. And so the story goes through 3 time periods, so about 1390, 1790, and then today. And it's the 2 brothers going through time, and the return of Thierry's lost love throughout those time periods as well, and the conflict between Thierry and Olivier. And so that's the sort of main romantic thread that runs through it. It's this unrequited love story, but also there's another threat. So Olivier is actually my favourite character, but he's quite reprehensible. He's not exactly evil, but he just embraces his vampiric nature and isn't going to apologise for it. But doesn't want to apologise for his love for his brother, but his brother is just not having a bar of it. So that's what takes place in the first book, and then the second is about their sister Aurelia, and a much bigger plot that involves witches and demons and the vampires as well. And then the third and final book will wrap all that up and bring it to its ultimate climax. But each one has a love story through them.
Excellent. So are you working on the third one at the moment?
It took so long. I finally finished the third one just before my birthday and submitted that to Escape. So that will be sitting with them, and who knows when I'll get the feedback from that, but I'm hoping it's all good.
Good things take time.
And they haven't got too many revisions, and it'll be out at some point. So working on that. There's another project I've got in the pipeline that will hopefully be come out this year, which is a little bit of a departure. And then I also worked on a contemporary novella, which is quite a departure from what I usually do, but I was treating it as sort of the palate cleanser to this dark, angsty, highly emotional story. And then I was like, okay, well, let's just have this nice contemporary romance between these two men and see what happens there. But it's actually turned out to be one that I kind of like. So that's out with some friends at the moment for a bit of an edit, and I'll see when it comes back who I give that to. And I'm trying to work more on increasing the output and not taking so much of a lull time, because usually I'd write the book, I'd edit the book, and then it's between writing it would be sort of 3 months, 4 months, 5 months before I'd write anything new. So trying to keep that habit going and keep the tap flowing, sort of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's brilliant. And so tell us where we can find you online. I've spotted your website, and it's a really brilliant website. I really recommend everyone to go and have a look at it. It's so pretty.
So you can see me on my website, danieldelorne.com. I'm also on Facebook, and I'm on Twitter, and I'm on Instagram, so just search for Daniel de Lorne. Love to have you all following me.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, thank you so much for being on the show today, Daniel. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thanks for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed the show. Jump onto my website, sarahwilliamsauthor.com, and join my mailing list to receive a free preview of my books and lots of inspiration. If you like the show and want it to continue, you can become a sponsor for just a couple of dollars a month. Go to patreon.com/sarahwilliamsauthor to find out more. And remember to follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and leave a review of the podcast. I'll be back next week with another loved up episode. Bye.